Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Luna. Let's check it out. Now before I start, I need to let you know this is the deluxe edition of the game, so certain pieces and components will be different from the regular version. Now there is a lot of setup in here, so bear with me. First off, you're going to connect to this board. The 4 pieces of the board go together. Inside these are 4 sets of little tiles. They come in these little sections here, 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 and here. They are color coded too, but for 4 players, you open up all of them. If you're playing with less players, you'll just flip over one of these tokens. All their sides will be blank, and you'll do that for however many players there are in the game. So with a 2-player game, you'd only have half the board available. For a 3-player game, you'd have all but 1. Now from then on out, you're going to take all the tiles and put them all along the pathway here. These tiles are numeric order. You'll put the lowest number here and the highest number will be up there, and you'll count them all the way out. These tiles go up to 28. Each player is going to start with a tile from there, number 1, 2, 3, and 4, depending on how many players you have. You'll give them out to the players. You'll give them 1 little disciple, and you'll give them 1 book. And so they'll take their tile, their book, and they'll their disciple, and they'll put them on that temple area that's matching the tile shown. Now the cool thing about these tiles, they also have an icon and they are color coded, which makes it very easy to find. If you're just looking for the number, you may spend all day looking for it, but look for the boat. I look for green, and I see a green boat right there matching 1. And I can put my guy on top of it. Now they would be standing, but I'm showing them flat just to kind of give you an example of how everything would look. You're also going to be planting out these temple guard tokens here, depending on the amount of players. That's how many. So in a 4-player game, I'd have 4 tiles and then temple guard token, and then 4 tiles, another temple guard token. If it was a 3-player game, I'd have 3 tiles and a temple guard token, and so on and so forth. Temple guard himself will be standing usually, but he'll be on this first tile there, and then of course every round, this game goes 6 phases, he'll be moving back up to the temple wall there. You also have these candle tokens that you'll put right there on the board. You also have the islands that you're just going to put out anywhere. This kind of makes for a lot of good replayability because you mix up the islands and where they go, and then you're going to add 1 resource to each island that shows the icon. So for instance, on this one here, this is a ship here, and so you see it has the little ship icon there. So I put all 4 here. Now in a 3-player game, you'd only have 3 ships available, and so on and so forth, because each player can only have a max of 1 item per island. Now you're also randomly going to decide where the moon priestess, the apostate, and the builder will be. There are 2 tokens for the moon priestess. This is for a 4-player game who has a 6, 3, and 1 on it. There's another one that just has a 5 and a 2 down there, and that is for a 3 or 2-player game. You'll also put your little tokens here represented by your color right here on the 0 seat on the board here, and you'll also give the first player this first player coin. Each player will also start with 5 victory points represented by these little coins here. These little toenail looking things are the 1s, that's the 3, that's the 5, and that's the 10. Now in the regular edition game, they are cardboard tokens that you can use instead, but basically you're giving out 5 points worth to each player. They're also going to get to place 1 of their shrines on any temple of their choice, and then they're going to set out and place 4 sets of 2, so a total of 8 of these disciples to any island they want. It can be the same island if they want to. The only rule about shrines is you can't have 2 of the same color shrine on the same island. So for instance, red could not build another shrine here. So just like every failed game, it comes with an easy set of rules with the actions demonstrated on this little player aid that can help you in determining which move you're going to take. What happens is each player takes 1 of these moves, and they keep taking these moves until the round ends. So what can you do on your turn? Well, first off, you can take an item off of that island. So for instance, if I was the red player and I wanted to take one of these little wave tokens, I'd move my 2 little guys off the island. They'd be next to it, but they'd be off the island, and I could take one of these and put it in my player area. Now I'll get to what each one of these icons do in a minute, but that's what you can do for anything as long as you have people there on the board. The next action you can take is to recruit another disciple. What you're going to do, instead of taking that wave token, what I could have done is I could have taken both of these guys, moved them off the island, and then added a third guy to that area. You have in your reserve 4 other disciples that you want to unlock during the game. Now, if you wanted to build a shrine, basically you're taking both of these people off. You're paying a shrine token, which is basically located over on this island here, so you have to obtain this first. Once you have that, you pay this, but you also have to be on an island with the builder. If you're not on the island with the builder and don't have a build token, you can't build. So if you meet both of those conditions, like it says here, say, hey, look, to build that, you need that token and you need to be on the island with the builder. Then you can build a shrine, and shrines are really nice. Again, a shrine counts as a extra disciple, so that if I wanted to, let's say I wanted to take that wave token this time, I'd remove 1 man off the island and then take the wave token. I wouldn't have to remove 2 because I have a shrine there. And later on, maybe I spent the wave token and then I wanted to get another one, I'd move another man off and grab it again because I have the shrine there. Shrines are also worth 4 victory points each at the end of the game. The next action you can take is to revive your people. Another one, and I'll go ahead and say what this one does. These are the herbs. If you have the herbs token, you can pay the herbs token, and you can revive 2 of your workers who are off an island and throw them back on the island. Basically rejuvenate them and use them again for a starting time. Now it says here, hey, you can't renew them and have them go back to the herb island. Duh, right? You can't just keep doing that action over and over again. Now these bottom 3 are movement actions. With any one person, you can take them and basically they're just swimming from one island to the next in either direction. So if this disciple wanted to go to this one, he would just swim, 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 and stay there. So he's out of the game. I mean, he's out of this round, but at least he made it to the next island. So on the next round, he'll just hop on this island and he can hopefully start taking actions there. So you can do that for 1. Now remember, they have to be on an island. If I were to use these 2 people, let's say, to take a wave token, and then later on I wanted to swim one over there, I couldn't. They'd have to start on an island and then swim to the next one and start off that island for that round. Now, the wave tokens. What do those wave tokens do? Well, that lets you move any number of people anywhere. So instead of going from one island to the next, if I paid that wave token, the tidal wave came and it blew my disciples on that island and over to this island. You know, I could go anywhere I wanted to, and I could move as many disciples as I wanted to that were standing on islands for wave. Wave basically just redistributes your entire workforce just about. And then finally is the sailboat. If I had this little sailboat here, oh, I could do magic. Anyone who's on an island, let's say that both of my guys are on an island and I wanted to pay that sailboat. Well, I could sell them to any other part of the island and they would go from island to island. So let's say I wanted to move them up here, and they'd even start on that island because I used my sailboat token. And so those are the 3 types of movement you can have. Now, these next few are temple actions. When you are doing a temple action, you're basically removing 2 people off the island, or like it says, if you have a shrine, just 1. So I would remove 2 people off the island, let's say, and then they would go to the next available one. Now, the guard is there, so it has to be one of these. I can't go behind the guard unless I got one of these bribe tokens. If I have one of these bribe tokens, I can bribe the guard and move to one of these of higher value. And the higher the value is good too, and I'll explain why in a minute. But let's say I didn't have a bribe token, I went there. Now if I did have a bribe token, got behind him, that'd be nice, but I have to pay another bribe token. If he's still there, I have to pay another bribe token to move him in to the temple, which is kind of hard to do. So I go off here. There is a little disciple. By the way, these extra icons, if you get these count as a temporary disciple. You can't send them to the temple. However, let's say I only had 1 player there. I only had 1 player there, and I have a temporary disciple where I can use my temporary disciple as part of the, 2 people that I'm going to move off and promote someone to the temple. So I get to promote him to the temple. So he'll go to the temple token there. Now on the next turn, I could place him inside the temple. And again, it says, hey, if you're behind that guard, you need to pay that bribe. And so when you put him inside the temple, basically what you're going to be doing is looking at the color, the number, and the icon. So it's a gray 5, so I place it here and put it right in there. Now when I do, I get the points equal to whatever round it is. And so in the first round, it's 6 points. Then every other round, it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You know, well, 2 and 2. But anyway, you'll gather the points. Also, let's say if these people did not have books underneath them, okay, then you'd have to look and see. My 5 is bigger than white's 3. So if white doesn't have a book underneath them, books, and here's how you get books here, but books, if they don't have a book underneath them, you expel those disciples out of the temple. Now, if you expel a disciple out of the temple, you get an extra victory point as well. So that's really nice. Also, it's nice to stock up and move these book tokens around when you see someone's bucking for one of the bigger tokens here on the board that could bump you out. Because at the end of each round, you're getting points determined on how many disciples you have in the temple, which could lead to quite a few. I should also mention about books here. If you want to pay a book, this does count as an action here. If you have one of these book tokens, you can cash it in and move one of these books. So let's say I want to make sure, because look, I'm surrounded by a 26 and a 22. That could bust him out of there. I want to keep him in there for as long as he can. So I pay a book token. And you know what, White? I'll take your book and I'll read it myself and put it underneath there. So now my guy is protected for any incoming disciples, yet White is in trouble unless he gets a book token and he does the same thing. He could steal it back from me or steal it from another player. There's going to be a lot of infighting for those books as you're trying to keep your disciples in the temple to get those big points. Also, one of the things you can do, you can move any number of workers off of an island and move your little player piece on this map here. So for instance, let's say I had a lot of these. Let's say I had 3 on an island, I moved them off the island. Well, instead of taking action to determine that island, I can move my little player piece 1, 2, 3 spaces. This doesn't mean anything at first, but at the end of the game, wherever you are on this track, you're going to get victory points equal to that amount. So eventually you're going to be wanting to move that tracker up there to try to get those big victory points at the end. Now another thing I forgot to mention is that when, let's say I did boot this character out, when he gets booted out, he goes to the dock right here. So he goes into the little dock area here where only a wave or a boat can come and take him away. So you got to spend a wave or a boat token to get him, rescue him from the dock. Now I should mention if you are on that dock though, you can also pay a bribe to sneak back into the temple, into an unoccupied space that's available. And that's something that you can do just to get those victory points. Again, at the end of each round, each person you have in the temple gains you 1 extra victory point per round. The other things you can do here is you can expel the apostate. Now the apostate is really bad. He's going to give you negative points each round for every person who's on or off to the side of that island. So you don't want to be caught at the end of the phase with the apostate on you. So what you can do is you can move any number of disciples off an island, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter, however many you want, move them off an island, and then you can move this apostate that many spaces. So for instance, if I moved 1, I could kick him down over here. And maybe there's no one there, but maybe some other players are there. At least he's not on my island. Because at the end of the turn, whoever he's at the end of each phase, whoever he is on the island or sharing to the side of the island with, they're going to lose a victory point per player. Now shrines don't count, but disciples do. Every disciple near the apostate loses 1 victory point. Now here below is the reminder about the novice there that I told you, that little novice token. It gives you basically a +1 to your disciples. And then your last action here is something you can do. Hey, you can meditate. And what meditate is you're going to take one of these little candle tokens and you're going to just flip it down, and as you see it snuffed out. And that's basically almost passing. Now eventually this is how the phase is going to go, because people don't know what they don't have anything left to do, or they just want the turn to end real quick. They'll start extinguishing those candles. The last person to do so, as you see here, gains 1 victory point. Then you're going to reset the candles again, and you're going to reset everything again when you do this. And so they're going to get a victory point, and the player to their left will get to be first player. And then you're ready to start again. Now, there is a mini expansion in the game that is this lady, the abbess, I believe. She starts off in this little area here, and whoever the first player is, they said gets to put her in one of the corners of the temple. It has to be touching 3 other tiles, so 1, 2, 3 and 4, I think she can go. She can go to one of those temples. And if you happen to build in one of those areas, you'll get a bonus victory point. Very rarely do you get victory points from her. We create a house rule that says, hey, first player gets to put her in a section, and whoever builds in that section, green, blue, yellow, gray, get a victory point. And even then, you don't get that many victory points off of her. That's just like a little mini expansion of something you would do for first player if you had the new content expansion. While I'm mentioning it, another new content expansion is this little guy. He's called the Preacher. Yep, looks just like a disciple. He is slightly thicker over there. You can really tell to the side, but that's another complaint here, is these both look the same here. But he's kind of like the El Grande worker. He's a twofer, so he counts for 2 disciples. He does the action of 2 disciples. He didn't need a shrine. He can go off on his own. That's another thing that comes in the new content expansion, as does all of these little metal victory point tokens here. So after the phase ends, then you're going to go ahead and count and give everyone victory points, whoever's in the temple. Everyone who is on the island with the Moon Priestess, first player will get 6 victory points. Second will get third. Third place will get 1 victory point. Fourth place will get nothing. Again, there's another Moon Priestess here that has a 5 and a 2. That's for first and second player. That's for, I believe it's 3 or 2 player games. But this one you'd add up and give the points here. Then you subtract the points from the apostate. And then you're going to move everyone. The priestess will always move the top number that's associated there. So she's going to go 6 all around the island, okay? So basically she'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hand the next place. The builder, as you see, has a 4 on him. He goes 4 spaces. So he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, builder goes there. And the apostate only goes 1 space, and that's to the next island, wherever he is. So you kind of can expect where the Moon Priestess and the builder will drop the next round just by counting spaces. The apostate is the only surprise because you don't know who's going to be moving him as one of their million turns. After that, this guard goes to his next station here. You remove that there from the game, and you start over again. Again, after 6 rounds of doing that, you count up all your victory points here. Victory points, again, you'll count up in the shrine. You'll count here on the track here. Anyone who has any extra tokens left over they didn't use, those count for 1 victory point each. And again, any shrines that you have placed out on islands count for 4 victory points. And whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game wins. Final thoughts. What do I think about the game? Well, I've always loved Stefan Feld, and I've looked at this game for a few years, but because of those little cardboard standees, which I hate, I never got the game. That's a shame because it is a good game. The Deluxified Edition is nice. Do you need it? No. No, you don't. You really don't. Just nice big blocky wood pieces. In fact, to be honest, the Moon Priestess, she kept falling over all the time during the games we've played. So maybe the standee is the better way to go. I just don't personally like standees, but it's probably not worth, unless you're a big fan of Stefan Feld, you want to have everything super nice, and you got the money to spend, go ahead. Other than that, getting the base game is, the regular version of the game is going to be just fine for you. As of new content, no. I would say no. The little abyss or whatever that you get the extra points from, the first time we played it that way, no one, I don't think, ever got a point. And then we started doing by, colored areas. But still, basically, you're just giving a point to whoever the first player already knows what he's going to do, and so he may get a point or 2 out of it. You may get 1 too. It seemed a little bit better, but it's not necessary. The priest or the pastor or whatever, man, that guy, it looks just like the other ones. Couldn't he have been something different? I mean, they made him a little bit thicker, but it was really hard to tell on the board who was who. And yeah, it is nice to have the El Grande worker added to the game, but again, you can play well without it. The metal victory points, those are really cool, but then cardboard tokens are really all you need because the ones, they're impossible to pick up off the table, impossible. And they look like fingernails. Just fingernail clippings. And so I said, hey, here's your toenails, or toenails. We were calling them toenail clippings after a while, which kind of makes it kind of disgusting now to think about it. But yeah, I don't think I would get new content at all. So if you have Luna and you're thinking, should I get the new content? It's not really worth it. Should I get the Deluxified version? It's up to you. It's up to you. I'm glad I have it, but to be honest, the regular edition should be fine. Now, as gameplay goes, I do enjoy this game. It's kind of frustrating to get one move and you never know when the round's going to end, meaning, one person, they're out of disciples, so they turn over a candle. And you're like, okay, well, I got at least 2 more turns before anyone else blows out a candle. But then you don't know, because the other 2 players, they turned over candles too. You're like, oh no, I wanted to have 2 more moves, but now I only got 1, and may as well just turn over that candle for a point. It's interesting. Also, it's interesting to decide who's going to be first player, because you want to be that first player to get that jump on certain items and get ahead inside the temple. A lot of strategy in this one. This is a really good one, but to be honest, you can get the basic version and have a great time. All right, gamers, that's all the time I have for now. Until next time, boy, I say time a lot. Game on.